Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia if you are new here, and my channel is at Sylvia Hola, where economics is made very simple for senior high school students. Today's class is going to be on economic system, so let's move straight to class without wasting much time. Hi, welcome to today's class once again. Sorry about that. Today's class is going to be on economic systems, so we want to find out what economic systems are. We also want to find out the criteria for distinguishing between various economic systems, such that whatever economy we see, we're able to tell whether this type of economy or the other type of economy. And we also want to find out the functions of every economic system. No matter the type of economic system, all of them have a particular function. We also want to treat that today. So if time permits us, then we will add the capitalist economic system to it. So let's move straight on. Now you'll be wondering why study the economic system? What is it going to add to you as a student? Economic system is a very important topic such that without it, it's going to be like a chaos all over the country. Imagine a home, right? We have a mother, the daddy, and then we have the kids. And then you have the daddy claiming that everything in the house, he owns it, he takes decision about everything that goes on in the home. Mommy also says, no, I also add up to the house's income. So I also take some decisions at home. And the kids are there wondering what is going on between them. And this could be a long fight. At the end, what will be the solution is for them to sit down and agree on who does this or that, or probably share the responsibilities in the home. By doing that, you realize that the peace returns back to the home. The same way we have that for every economic system or every country. Any country that does not operate on any economic system is bound to have a chaos. Like, so that's why you see some wars going on here and there. Most of them, the basics is understanding what economic system they are operating and how to abide by it. So let's see what exactly we mean by economic system. Economic system, right, is a setup or mechanism for managing resources to attain certain goals. Emphasis on certain goals is a setup or mechanism for managing resources to attain certain goals. It is also an institutional arrangement, just like a home, right? You have an arrangement to say that who does this or who does that in the home, so that there will be peace in the home and order in the home. Economic systems, or as a country, they have institutional arrangement by which productive resources are owned and controlled to produce goods and services. So you have an arrangement that is specifying how production should be done, things, how distribution should be done, and how consumption should go on in the country. Once these arrangements are specified and everybody abides by those arrangements, there is perfect peace, just like in a home where everybody abides by however the budget is drawn or however rules are assigned in a home, and there's total peace in the home. The same way, if these arrangements are done in a country, right, as to what should we produce, how should it be produced, how should distribution go on, and what is supposed to be consumed, how consumption should supposed to be done in the country, then there's total orderliness in the country. So this is economic system. That is why we are saying it's very, very important. Without its existence, there's going to be total chaos. So we want to find out, as said in the introduction, that what are the criteria for distinguishing between economic system, such that if you see any kind of economic system, you are able to know that this kind of economic system could be either capitalist, which we get there very soon, or socialist, or mixed economy, which are going to treat very soon. So these criteria, once you're able to answer these questions, once you're able to answer the question pertaining any country you belong to or you are in, you can be able to tell that, oh, my country operates this kind of system, so this is how I should live my life, or my country operates that kind of system. So these important criteria are: one, ownership of resources. You want to find out who owns resources in the country, right? Then the one who owns the resources is the one obviously going to decide what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, what to distribute. So this method of decision making, who makes them and how is it made, right? And then you want to see the motivation for production. Why are they motivated to produce? Is it for the general welfare of the people, or is it for profit, or is it for both? Once you're able to answer these three criteria, which is ownership of resources, method of decision making, motivation for production, Once these three criteria are satisfied, then you can easily determine what kind of economic system you are dealing with. So you'll be able to know whether you are dealing with capitalist economic system, socialist economic system, or mixed economic system. So as I said, any economic system is in arrangement, right? That determines how goods are supposed to be produced in a country, distributed and then consumed. These arrangements are made so that there's orderliness in every country. So no matter what economic system you choose, you have a particular function that you have to make sure you take note of. And these functions are not peculiar to only one. They are the same for all type of economic system. Depending on any type of economic system you choose, you must perform this function. So the one of the functions is to know what to produce. What exactly do you want to produce in your country? How much do you want to produce? How are you going to produce? For whom or how to distribute the goods? Then you want to attain full employment. What do you mean by full employment is that you want to make sure every resources, including human beings in your country, are fully put to use. None of them is lying down idle. If you want to delve into the full employment, really, I will advise you to watch my video on the unemployment. Yes, that will give you a full detail on what the unemployment is all about and then what we mean by the full employment. Remember in the video, I said that it doesn't have to do with only human beings, also have to do with resources. So every country wants to aim at making sure that they attain full employment and then also they attain economic growth and development. Just as a human being, if you are giving birth to, you want to make sure that the person grows right from childhood to puberty to adulthood. If you give birth to a child, the child doesn't grow, you become concerned that there's something wrong. The same way, every country will be concerned when the country is not growing. So one of the function or major functions of every economic system is to make sure that the economy grows and also what develops. Now we're wondering the things we mentioned. What do we mean by those economic systems we define? So let's take them one by one. For today's class, not to make the class long, we're going to take the price mechanism, which is the same as the capitalist economic system. Right? You want to find out what is capitalist economic system. In this type of economic system, which is the capitalist economic system, all productive resources are owned and controlled by private individuals to produce goods and services. All resources, not totally all, almost, I will tell you why I said almost, all productive resources are owned and controlled by private individuals to produce goods and services. So which means that decisions as to what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, how to produce it are taken according to the market mechanism which we term as demand and supply. You demand the supply. And what's the reason for choosing this method of decision making? That's such that unless the good is demanded, it's not supplied. Is because their motive for production is profit. Their main motive is to make profit. Remember the criteria. They are saying that you want to find out who owns the resources, the decision making, and what's the motive for production. The motive for production in this economic system, which is the capitalist economic system, is the profit motive. They want to make profit. So that is why goods are provided on demand and supply basis. You demand for the good, they supply. If you don't demand, they cannot supply, because if no one demands a particular good and they supply, how are they going to make their profit? Because there are people who have invested their monies to make sure they make profit out of it. Now let's see the economic system, the capitalist economic system has other versions, right? We have the pure capitalism, where we know that greater percentage of the resources are controlled by the private individual or and they are owned by them. This doesn't mean that in every economic system, any capitalist economic system, whether a pure or the normal capitalist economic system, you don't see things that are being produced that are not really demanded by most people. No, you will still see the government being active. So it doesn't mean that only human. That's why I made a comment that almost all. What it means is that some things are so essential such that it cannot be left in the hands of the private individual. Things like security, right? We need some policemen, some soldiers around to make sure that we are protected, right? Around the borders, we need some soldiers. We also need the policemen because of the presence of criminals and crimes, right? We need the police. And no private individual want to invest their money in the police to guard everyone when they are not making any profit out of it, right? Unless you demand your private security, they are not going to, which is not possible for everybody to afford. So the common private police that we see around is something taken up by the government. Though in a capitalist economic system, things might be fully owned by the private individuals. They are not fully, not all of them, because essential goods like security, yeah, and then education. People need to be educated. If you leave education only in the hands of the private individual, it's going to be on demand and supply basis. It means that if the cost is high, the common people or the people who are poor or cannot afford higher educational systems will be left uneducated, which is not going to help benefit any country. So you see the government, even though it's a capitalist economic system, involved in what? Education. You also see the government involved in what? Healthcare. Healthcare, which is very, very important. If you leave the healthcare in the hands of the private sector alone, it means only those who can afford healthcare can have access to it, which is a very essential commodity for every human being, whether rich or poor. So you see that the government also taking interest in the healthcare, not only the security or education, also in the healthcare, because it cannot be left only in the hands of the private individual in the name of capitalist economic system. So you see the government involved in this as provision of these essential services. Also, you have the judiciary that the government is also involved in. There's no way you have a country without a law and order. The law enforcement agencies must be there. Aside the police, we need it gets out of hand, it must go to the court. Who are going to do that? No private individual is going to invest in their money in the court system. After all, what does it bring to them? Right? What profit does it earn to them? That means justice must be paid for. But justice is not supposed to pay. Justice must be free. It must be given out when you deserve it. So in this case, you see that even though it's a capitalist economic system, you see the government actively involved in these services. Some of the examples of countries that practice capitalist economic system we can find as Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Switzerland, Australia, United States, etc., etc. So you have so many countries that are practicing this capitalist economic system. And as I said, it is not only the individual private individual that owns everything. That's why I made a comment that it's not almost or a greater percent. That means there's some percentage that is left for the government to be involved in, because those services are very, very essential for the country, such that no matter how rich you are or poor you are, you need those services. And if they are left in the hands of the private individual in the name of capitalist economic system, because they are supposed to own the resources, then some section of the people in the country might suffer. So you see the government involved in this provision of these services. So these are some of the countries that are practicing capitalist economic system. You can Google out and find more of such countries, and find out even if your country that you belong to, what kind of economic system are they practicing. Let's see some advantages of capitalism, which is another name for capitalist economic system. Another name for that one is a free market economy, the free market economy, or capitalism or capitalist economic system. So you want to find out what are some of the advantages. One of the advantages is that it does not require any administrative expenses. For instance, if it was a government that was taking care of everything, you will see that you need your MPs, you need your, I mean, as in your members of parliaments, legislature, right? You also need um, your ministers, your DC, MMCs, if you are in Ghana, and so many people put in administrative positions to be able to handle the distribution and production of goods and services in the country. And all those things come at a cost. But with the capital economic system, we don't need these things, because individuals own the resources. All they have to do, the maximum you see is that the company has its CEOs, or has the entrepreneur who has his employees who are working, are paid according to the job they are doing. So they don't waste money or expenses on administrative staff. If you're administrative staff in the company, it means that you are an employee that was being paid on a job you are doing, right? So you don't incur any administrative expenses. Also, they always produce new consumer goods. Because their motive is to make profits, they always want to people want to be very innovative, right? Creating new things. The new things that more you create new things, it means that people will be like, wow, is there goods like this also in the system? They want to try it out. And the more they demand for those goods, you also make your money out. So they produce the one of the advantage is that there's a lot of production of new consumer goods. So many goods and services come up that are very new. Unlike formerly, let's say for instance, if you were probably walking to a particular mall to go and buy something, if you're living in a situation where we have capitalized economy or individuals are handling stuff, you see that you can be in your home and just order for whatever you want online, and it is delivered to you. That's a new service that it didn't used to be. Formerly, you'd have to walk to your stores, or you have to walk to your shops or your malls to buy stuffs that you need, or your groceries. But thankfully, because we have individuals that are undertaking these things, right? They're able to think and bring out new goods and new services that benefits consumers, right? It also promotes consumer sovereignty. You know, consumer is always right. You're always right because once the consumer is right, you always right, and he or she is considered as the king or the queen. You are able to retain your consumers or your customers, and they always count. The more you retain your consumers as a producer, in a capitalist economic system, the more profits you are going to make. No one wants to get rid of their consumers because that's where their income comes from. So in that case, you see that the consumer reigns supreme. Whatever they want is what they get done for them because they are paying for it. Once you overlook them and then you handle them anyhow, you are going to lose your consumers, yes, to another competitor. So in that case, you see the consumers are reigning supreme. They are always right. That's one good thing about capitalist economy system. It also brings about efficient means of distribution goods. No one will want to waste their money or their money anywhere. Or sometimes when you find government projects or things lying down being wasted. No individual will want to waste their resources that way. So any little resources they commit into any project, they want to make sure that they are finish the project or probably they've achieved whatever reason for which that project started at the first place. So you see that resources are perfectly being used, not wasted at all. Because that is someone's money and someone needs profit out of that. As I said, their main motive is to do what? Is to make profit. Aside that, this economic system encourages hard work. You know, it opens up for innovations and inventions so that you see that people are competing against each other. So what people actually do is to work hard. Once you work hard, you are rewarded with a lot of profits that you could enjoy. So these are some of the advantages we have for having or that we see in countries that operate the capitalist economic system. But let's see, no matter how good they are, still there are bad sides of it too as well. You want to see that there's economic insecurity. You cannot, because it's a private sector, you can be fired at any time and hired at any time. Unlike if it's a government sector, you can maneuver your way and say, oh, I have job security, I can stay in my job for a long time because after it's a government one. And before you are gotten for the process to reach to where you will get fired, things might have helped you one way or the other. But in this case, this is a private where so many of the resources or so many productive resources are owned by the private individual. So in this case, you will see that people easily lose their jobs. Some you can be producing goods and the producer decides that okay, I'm diverting my resources to production of other goods that probably may not be qualified to be parts, which I'm expecting you to see that into details in the other um, topic we have treated already, which is unemployment. So you may want to see that to see some of the reasons why people may lose their jobs. And aside that, we also have overproduction of goods. Once the producers they see that they have so many things that they can there are so many things are being produced. As long as they are making profits out of it, you see so many men venturing into that same production because at the end they are going to make their profit. So once they're making a profit, they do not care how many times or how many people are producing such goods. So in that case, you will see that so many goods are overproduced because as long as that place is a green area, able to make profits, they do not care how many people are producing such goods. So there's obviously going to be overproduction of some goods, whilst other goods that are very important, like public goods and services, are underproduced because as long as there's no profits in that area, why should have someone commit his money into judiciary? Someone get a case, goes to court, and so what? So why should my money be the one to help someone get justice? No one will want to do that. So you see, such goods are underproduced or services are underproduced. For instance, if they have to give public utilities like electricity, water, and those things that probably are mostly subsidized, right? No private individual want to commit his resources into production where it has to be heavily subsidized such that he or she may not make a profit out of that production. In that situation, you will see that such public goods are underproduced, whilst other goods that are really not as so important as long as they are making profits, they'll be overproduced, right? So you also see that it promotes private benefit rather than social benefits, as I said earlier in the low production of public goods mostly benefit so many people, right? Whether they're rich or they're poor. But when people produce goods based on profit making, you demand at the price as they're producing, the supply for you and make their money. So they're not thinking about how it's going to benefit people socially, everyone, the welfare of people. No, they are thinking about their private. As long as they make their profits and it is genuine, they are making their profits. They don't care how it's, other people benefit or not. As long as their profit is made, they are good to go. Also, this one also leads to this kind of economic system also leads to exploitation of consumers, yes, especially if the producer is the sole producer. We call it a monopoly, right? If you are the producer happens to be the only one producing that kind of good in that economy, it doesn't matter how much the price is. He's going to price at the price without considering whether people need that good for them to be satisfied so everybody could enjoy or not. They don't care. The price at which they want to put it is that price, and those who want it will buy. And sometimes, if the good becomes a necessity, something that you need, you cannot do without, whether rich or poor, you no matter how painful it is for you, you still have to buy. So you feel exploited, but you have no choice. And these are some of the disadvantages that this capitalist economic system brings. Also, you see that the rich, right, get richer because, as I said, their main motive is towards making sure that they make profits. So the rich are those who own the productive resources. Most of them are those who have already. For you to be able to have something to produce, it means you are wealthy, right? So once you are wealthy or you have already, you still get more because you are the one who is producing and getting more profit. Whilst the poor, right, keep getting poorer. They do not have, they cannot produce. And especially if some of the goods they need to also upgrade themselves. For instance, if they need education, and education is very competitive and expensive for them, and the government doesn't intervene to produce public schools for them to also get at a cheaper cost or free education for them to get. And you see that the poor person who is, no matter how smart or brilliant you are, you stay home and become poor, you cannot get any education, you keep being where you are, you cannot enjoy basic goods and services that you want to enjoy. So your state is getting poorer and poorer, whilst the rich who already have keep enjoying so many things because they can afford anything they want because they own the resources, they produce at a price that they know that they can make profit and they keep enjoying while the poor keep suffering and becoming poorer. So these are some of the disadvantages of what capitalist economic system. In summary, we are saying that based on the criteria we have discussed, that the first criteria is to know who owns the resources, who second criteria, who takes decisions on what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, for whom to produce, and how to distribute. And the third criteria being the motive for production. You can see it in capitalist economics that one, their motive for production is to maximize what profit, the profit motive. They want to make profits. And the second, you can see that the private individual are those who own the resources. Because they own the resources, they are those who take decision as to what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and for whom to produce, and how to distribute. And also, we saw that the goods are supplied based on demand and supply force. You demand, they supply. Because once people demand, it means when they supply, they make their profit. If people do not demand, they do not supply. So you see the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer because once those who can afford demand, they supply it for them and make their profits. And we also saw that there's a freedom of individual initiative. People are able to be very innovative and creative because there's competition in the system. So you see creation of new goods and services. So based on this, we can say that capital economic system is an economic system whereby the resources are owned and controlled by private individuals, decisions are taken by the private individuals, and then the motive for production is for profit making. This is where we bring we bring today's class to an end. In the next class, we are going to discuss that of the socialist economic system, and then we move to the mixed economic system. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section regarding the video. And if you like our class today, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Aside that, if you have not subscribed yet and you are new here, please kindly subscribe to have access to our wonderful new classes that is upcoming. Until then, this is the end of today's class. Watch and enjoy. Bye for